This morning we are going to be making Penny's Crustless Quiche. So here is the recipe that you can also find on Penny's Primal. I'm not going to be following it exactly. I'm going to change it up a little bit, just a little bit. So the first thing you need to do is dice some potatoes. If you do not have time to dice potatoes, I like to buy these at Winco. They are not exactly Whole 30 because there is dextrose in it, but I still feel okay about buying them because it says no added sugars, and I'm not on a round of Whole 30 right now. So the first thing I want to do is sprinkle the potatoes, not sprinkle, but pour some olive oil on them. I'm going to mix this up a little bit. And I'm just going to throw it on a baking sheet. I'll spread this around. And the next step, I'm going to sprinkle some salt and some paprika. So I don't have any exact measurement on how much salt to sprinkle. So just do as much as is to your liking. I already have the oven preheated to 375 degrees, so I'm going to go ahead and toss this in the oven now. Okay. Meanwhile, I started heating a pan with some ghee. So that is already in there. And I'm going to go ahead and finish off the rest of the recipe. And I do have a guest with me this morning. Actually, I'm a guest in her home. This is my sister, Isabel. Hello, good morning. Okay, so the next thing that the recipe tells me to do is what, though? I set my phone down. Okay, hold up. Let me pull it up.
I got it right here.
Okay. So the next thing that I need to do is saute the mushrooms in the ghee. So it calls for about 5 ounces of baby Bella mushrooms. We really like mushrooms, so we're just going to use the whole container. So the pan that I'm using right now as I do this is the crok. And I usually use a separate pan to saute in. But today I decided just to use it use the crok because I can cook on the stove in it and I can bake in it. So if I can cut down how many pans I use in the kitchen, that's always a plus for me. Okay, so I'm going to saute these. As soon as these are done, I'm going to take these out and I'm going to throw them in a bowl, which I'm using the plastic batter bowl. This one is the old style. There is a newer style that is a little bit lighter than this one. So in the meantime, while that's sauteing, I'm going to go ahead and dice some ham. The recipe calls for, I believe, 6 ounces of ham.
6 ounces of ham.
Okay. So 6 ounces of ham, but again, I'm going to use just a little bit more. So I'm using the coated utility knife just to slice some ham.
Was there any pepper in there?
I don't think it calls for any pepper, but we can always add some if you want. Okay, I have now got the ham diced up. I'm going to go ahead and dice up some green onions. This is one of the additions that I'm making to the recipe. I'm going to reserve the top of the green onions for garnishing the quiche, and then I'm going to use the bottom of the green onion to saute in a pan with the ham before throwing it into the recipe. So those mushrooms are still cooking down right now. That's the top of it, and I'll get the bottom part. I haven't always liked a lot of spice in my foods, or I haven't really been a big fan of onions, period. But it seems like since I did this round of Whole30, that's changed a bit for me. I'm starting to like onions a lot more, and I'm actually liking to cook with spice. So I'll dump that in there. I'm just going to put this to the side. Okay, let me check on those mushrooms. Okay, the mushrooms are just about done, so I'm going to throw those in the plastic batter bowl. I'm going to add a little bit more ghee to the pan, and I'm going to saute the mushrooms. Not the mushrooms, the spinach.
I was waiting for you to catch that.
You can tell me. Okay. So, we like a lot of spinach, so we're going to throw quite a bit in there. The spinach cooks down to look pretty small anyways. And I think I'm going to add the lid to this to help that get some of the steam so that can cook down. Let's see. In the meantime, while that's finishing up, I'm going to go ahead and dice a tomato again for garnish, just so I can sprinkle this on top. I'll probably be adding some avocado, and I think my sister still has some salsa made, so we'll likely add that to the top as well.
Let me make sure I have some. I used all the green one last night.
So you have the real spicy one.
Yes. You know what? I think the green one was spicy too. Yeah, we still have some of the spicy.
Okay. I'm going to check on those potatoes, because the potatoes are supposed to be cooked until they're softened. I'm going to leave those in just a little bit longer. Okay, and I'll check on that spinach. going to throw the spinach in with the mushrooms now. Now I'm going to add a little bit of olive oil to the pan. And I'm going to let that heat up a little bit, and once it's heated, I'm going to add the green onions to the pan and throw in the diced ham as well. So I'll go ahead and add the green onions now. I don't always measure everything out. Sometimes I'll just use like 6 stalks of green onion, and that'll be good for me. But if you like more, feel free to add more. Okay, so now I'm going to add the ham in there as well. I have not had any luck finding Whole30 compliant ham. So I've made this recipe a few times with compliant bacon, but my sister and I really wanted to be able to try it with the ham, so that's what we're doing. So this time around we're just using Farmer John ham until we can find one that's compliant for Whole30, whenever we're on around a Whole30. We're not right now, so I guess it doesn't make that much of a difference. In the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and start whisking the eggs. The recipe calls for, I think, 8 eggs, but I am using a dozen. So I'm going to whisk these, and then I'm going to be adding some garlic powder and nutritional yeast. And you'll hear me say Whole30 a lot because that's something my sister and I have been doing. And we're trying to stick to a lot of the things because we found that it makes us feel better. So we're not eating as much dairy as we used to. And so for this recipe, instead of using cheese, we'll be using nutritional yeast. But if you like cheese and it makes you feel good, feel free to use it. Okay. Let's see, it calls for a teaspoon of garlic, a teaspoon of salt. Okay, these are my adjustable measuring spoons from Pampered Chef. Because I've got more eggs and I've added a little more, I'm going to do maybe a teaspoon and a half. Let's see, so I'll go ahead and adjust it to the half a teaspoon on here. And then add that to the recipe. And let's see, the nutritional yeast, I need to add
3 tablespoons.
3 tablespoons. Okay, so I'll probably add like 4.5 tablespoons. So again, this is the larger adjustable measuring spoon. So 1, 2, 3, and then I'll do half a tablespoon. Half. I said I was going to do 4.5, and then 1 more. So then I just need to add the salt and the pepper. How much salt do I need, sis?
A teaspoon and then half a teaspoon of pepper.
Okay, so I'm going to do a teaspoon of salt. I'm going to add a little bit extra. Okay. And pepper. So half a teaspoon of pepper. I'll probably do like 3/4 of a teaspoon. Let me stir the green onions and the ham a little bit. So I'm going to pour this into the bowl. Oh, thank you, sis. Mix all of this up. But first I'm going to add the potatoes. So I'm going to go ahead and take those out now. Okay. I did line that with parchment paper as well, just to make it for easy cleanup. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and mix this all in. And again, I said I was just going to use the same pan that I was already cooking in. So I'm going to spray that with a little bit of olive oil to help prevent any sticking. It does still have a little bit of olive oil and maybe some ghee in there from what I did cook in it. So I'm going to finish mixing the eggs with all the seasonings. Okay, and now I'm going to pour all of these into the crock, and then I'm going to pour the egg mixture over it. I might have added a little bit too many ingredients to this.
You want to use the other
I'm going to see if the eggs will fit, and if it does not fit, then I'm going to pour it into the 4-quart Dutch oven. I think the eggs will fit though. We just really like our added ingredients. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pour that. I'm going to mix it up some. So this is what it looks like now, right before it goes into the oven. So the next thing that I'm going to go ahead and do is toss that into the oven, and I will post a picture of what that looks like in the end.